All right, so we are going to talk a little bit about your chapter 3 lab. This is a little bit of an introduction, a little bit of a how-to, and unfortunately it doesn't look quite like it does from your guys's end. This is what your assignments look like for me, but it should be close enough, and let me know if you have any questions. The labs have kind of this cool setup where you've got, the background, it tells you about the data, it tells you some little things about it. Hey, make sure you label your graphs. Your graphs need titles, your axes need labels, and your graphs are expected to have these three things, right? There's the tech guide, the Excel tech guide. You're welcome to use that. You're welcome to use the videos that I've made throughout chapter 3. And then you've kind of got questions, right? It asks you to do particular tasks, and then you need to upload your results as a file, right? So we're going to kind of talk through the different steps here because this is your first lab for this class. So we'll start by going over the two different ways that you can access, download, use this hintsdata.csv, right? So this is our data. We can go ahead and click on it. You can see that this data is a CSV, right? CSV stands for comma separated values. And you can see that these are separated by commas. We've got age, comma, their gender, comma, their general health. Now, these are coded, right? You can actually see the coding here. The gender is the gender of the respondent. There's only two in this case. There's 1 equals male and 2 equals female, right? So we've got against code, you've got the, the legend to our code, but then we've got all this data. So there's kind of two different ways we can work on this. The first one is to just Control A, right? Copy all of it, Control C, and go ahead and look, I conveniently have an Excel already ready to go. And then we can Control V, paste it over here. Now, the thing that's happening here is these commas have not translated over into new cells, right? We want age, gender, and general health, but instead they're all just right here, right? So what we can do, there's actually a nice button for this in the data section. It might be called something different in your Excel, and I apologize if that is the case. There's a text to columns, right? And that wizard, it's a wizard, has determined that your data is delimited. It is correct. Delimited means characters such as commas or tabs separate each field. A field is a cell, right? So yes, that is correct. I have delimited data, right? Now you do have to go in and tell it that it is delimited by a comma, right? And once you do that, you can see that this preview of what it's going to look like when you're done shows now 3 columns, right? General, that's fine. And now we've got our data, right? The other way to do this is to right click and say, I want to download the linked file, right? So you can do that. You can say, I want to download that linked file, save that linked file. And then when you go to your Finder or your Explorer window and you go to where you saved it, click through this and open it. Now that will open as an Excel, right? So those are kind of the two different ways that you can get your data in, whichever one is more comfortable for you. Just go ahead and do that. But note that you do not have to go through and type all of this nonsense if you don't want to, right? Reminder, that was download linked file. And like linked file as, you always don't ever just download things to your downloads file. So what do we want to do here? We want to make different graphs and we're going to upload them, right? So we're going to upload them as a file type, maximum file of 1 megabyte. So we need to make sure our what's the word I'm looking for? Type isn't all that bad, right? So we can go ahead and let's see, what would be a graph that's not gonna give you guys the answer to this one. All right, I went ahead and zoomed in, so hopefully it's a little bit easier for you guys to see what's going on. And I decided that we're going to make a pie chart out of gender, right? So if we want to do this, if we want to do a pie chart out of gender, well, we need a frequency table for our gender. Right? We will go ahead and label that for ourselves really quickly. Right? So our two options are 1 and 2. Now, something that we don't talk about in our previous videos is how to do this. Right? So how to go through and do this with a function here, right? So I want to count if, I want to do this column, and I want to count if it is 2, right? So you can see that I have 2,617 total, and 1,576 of them are 1, which if we go back to our data, we'll do that real quick. 1 is male, so we'll go ahead and label that appropriately to make our pie chart look better, right? And so here we want the exact same count if. We want this column, and we want to count if it is 2. Oh, did I get 2 in that first one? I did. We need that to be 1, right? We want to count the number of 1s and the number of 2s, right? Male and female. Because of course, whoever made this data made the men 1 and the females 2. So we've got now our frequency table, right? And this is what we can use to make our pie chart, right? Remember, you'd want to give it a title. You make male and female, the legend, make sure that's available and visible. And what we can do here is we can go in and say save as picture, right? So if you save as picture, or I'm sure the Microsoft version has something just as similar, save that as a picture. I'm going to put it again in my class folder, which is always a good idea. I'm going to enable it pie chart.png, right? So that's going to go into courses and your class, and I'm going to save it here, right? So now I have that picture, and that, I'm going to go ahead and just drag this over, is what we can upload pie chart PNG, upload. Right, so that's there, it's ready to go. When I submit for testing, right, it's going to submit that in as my answer. Of course, it's vanished because I am the instructor and I don't need to do this, but that is how you're going to work through these kind of lab questions, right? You need to save your images and upload them into this. And you've got some things to talk about with our graphs that we've made and some comparativeness. And you're going to need to do a little bit of work with the data, but hopefully that is exciting for you guys. So again, let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if anything behaves funny on your computer, your machine. It should be somewhat straightforward, and happy chart making.